We are live. Hey, Marlene.
Hey, Lisa.
So, tonight, welcome in for this weekend's Wealth Weekend episode From Stress to Success. And be on the lookout for part two, which is going to be over on Marlene's channel. I am Lisa J. Stocks. Please introduce yourself, Marlene.
Hey, everybody. I'm Marlene Motivates, and I am a life coach, motivational speaker. I have a channel on YouTube where I give motivation and support and all sorts of motivation. And today we're going to be doing the financial sort of motivation. So thank you, Lisa, for having me.
Thank you for joining me. So, I put together some questions. I know you did too, but I just want this to be a discussion. And like you said, what you usually bring on YouTube is motivation, encouragement, just giving a place where people are knowing that they're not alone in this, Sometimes some things that you talk about are a little bit too deep for me, especially if it's in the middle of the workday or something. But they are all things that we need to deal with, and I get like that because there are things that touch me. A lot of the conversation that you have, but today is finance, which also can be emotional. Um, but do you want to start off with the first topic or thing you want to chat about?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, this is the thing. A lot of times people will really not know where to start, and I think that that's an issue for a lot of people when we talk about finances and wealth and building. So my question is, how much really do we need for retirement?
Ooh, that varies, but I mean, I'm taking it very serious. My goal is over $1 million in my investments alone when it comes to that. Uh, what are your thoughts on it? Because I want to make sure, and that might sound like a lot, but when I went to Fidelity recently for an appointment, they were using 95 as a potential age that they want they want people to be able to target for. We don't know how long we're going to be here. We do know that there are lots of stresses when we have different administrations. We never know what could happen, and with social security age already being raised during our lifetime, it's 67 to get full benefits. So I've read that, they're on their way to raising that potentially to 70, 72. And they're saying that that fund is going to be pretty much depleted. I think they'll always give something for Social Security because there would be too much going on. People have the politics and everybody wants to get voted back in, so there will be something, but I don't think it's going to be much. So I'm not dependent on it. I feel like I need to prioritize building up as much as I can. What are your thoughts?
Well, I personally have always come from thinking about how much do I really need right now, and then thinking like times that by at least five because of the cost of living is going to increase and expenses. So that's where I am in thinking, and then times that again by 12. So, and then that will be my number for thinking about my retirement, because by the time I get to that age where I'm not afraid to say my age here, but I'm 46,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to make sure in the next 15 years that I can start winding down. So my number was 1.5 million.
Mhm. I'm right there with you. So um, I the other night, just a few nights ago, I think it was actually Monday night on the holiday, I was figuring out my number. I was using the investment calculator and my investments alone, not counting property or anything else. My investments alone, if I do not add another dollar to it, it should grow to over $1 million from the point that it's at right now. But of course, I am going to continue to build towards it. So I'm going to be on track with, the type of number that you just mentioned. And hopefully, in the next few years, I'll be prioritizing getting rid of the mortgage of my main property so that when those days of retirement come, there's, less bills, of course.
Yes. I think that's something that's so important that we really need to be thinking about, not just having a number in mind for bills and expenses, but also I have been thinking more about, like, okay, am I going to have something like, what if I need somebody to take care of me? Well, do I have money in a fund for that? Because that was not something I envisioned. I was just thinking about, covering bills and being
Hmm.
able to have food and things like that. But the more that I am around other people, you have to start thinking about, at least if you could have somebody come in and once a week help you with some care. We don't
Hmm.
know as we age what we'll need for our financial portfolio. So now I'm starting to think about adding an extra $100 a week when I get paid. It may not be a lot, but it's something.
Hmm. Yes, definitely. I think about that all the time. If I want to continue staying in this house, I can't, at some point you can't do the snow, you can't do you can't mow the lawn, do the landscaping, be out there pulling weeds. I know there are people in my family, older family members that can no longer drive, due to their health conditions. So it happens. It definitely happens. We have to be ready for it, and sometimes it comes earlier than you even think. Um, so yes, definitely things to think about and plan for, especially with this so-called big beautiful bill and the things that are going on with assistance, even food stamps and things like that. Everything is changing. I was watching TikTok the other day, and people are outraged there because they made these changes and they put them in place quickly, and it's a real shock to people's system when they're no longer getting these benefits. They don't know what it is to go to the store and spend $300-400 out of your pocket for groceries. So yes, we definitely have to be ready for that. So I think I got this. Anthony's in the chat from About That Wallet. I don't know if you're familiar with Anthony. He's giving you a compliment on how good you look.
Oh, thank you.
But I think I got this question from listening to one of his interviews the other day, and I think I'm going to use it all the time because I really like it. Because well, let me just throw it out to you and see if something comes to mind. What's your earliest money memory?
Okay, my earliest money memory was, I would say, 7 years old, because I come from a Caribbean background. So I always would see on Saturdays, my mom and my dad would sit at the kitchen table and they would be talking about the bills and the costs and how much things are gonna. And I remember peeking in and like taking notes, like, okay, I was like, okay, the light bill is this, this is that. So I remember that vividly and thinking, like, oh, that's nothing. That's not a lot of money. I'll be able to handle that. Not thinking that about the cost of living increases. I was thinking, oh, I'll be able to pay $50 for a light bill or $75 for the water. Yeah, kids.
Mm.
The way you think when you're a child about, thinking that things would always be the same, and they most definitely have not. So that's my earliest financial memory, hearing my parents talk about the bills.
Okay. Well, yours is pretty good and very conventional. The two things that I thought of are kind of it shows the stress, the financial stress that I was seeing. The first two things I can think of, and I'll tell you the first one, because I think I'm not sure how old I was. I would say I was probably uh, maybe 6 at the most.
Okay.
I was at a store with my mom. We were in the dressing room and I was trying on clothes. And because I'm assuming, kids who are always outgrowing our clothes when you're that small, your clothes and your shoes.
Yeah.
I'm guessing I really didn't have much. Like I had outgrown pretty much everything. And I'm trying on the clothes and Uh, so, mom's making the pile of what we're going to take. And I remember saying to her, like, you're going to get all of that? Like, you can afford that? And when I think about that, it must have shown me that I was already worried about money,
You were worried.
that she couldn't buy all of that. And another money thing that crossed my mind is, um, I remember my dad was near to the exit where we lived, and there was a bad traffic jam, and he drove in the shoulder on the highway to get off, and the police stopped him and gave him a ticket. And I remember being angry that he got that ticket and it was going to take money away from,
Yeah.
things that we needed. Now he's going to have to pay this ticket. So yeah, I don't, I wasn't the normal kid. I was already worried about money. And when that happened, I probably was in like about fourth grade, mad at my dad for probably causing my mother more stress about this bill with the ticket. But those are the first two things that came to mind when I thought about it. But I think I'm gonna every time I have anyone over here, I'm always going to ask that question because I think it's really interesting. And I think it probably shapes the way you're going to go forward in life thinking about money is those first early interactions and things that go on around your household. So, okay, but I'm a different person now, and you are too. You
Yeah.
you know we know what it is to be out here adulting and have to take care of a household. So, at what point in life did you feel like I have the knowledge now and I am like financially confident to move forward and maybe even, you know, teach my children, the people around me, give guidance as you said you are someone who are here on YouTube and in real life giving encouragement.
Yeah, honestly, I can say from a very young age, I felt like I was ready because I had the gift of I had parents that were very open when it came to money. When I got to be about maybe 11 or 12 years old, my mom used to take us all and say, this is how much the bills were and things like that. And you need to be saving. And this is how much I pay for my hair to get done. And this is how much for sports. So they brought me into the world of showing me budgeting and how to plan. And you should be saving money for retirement and things like that. And I have that very vivid memory of my mom always taking out money that was, she said, not for the kids, not for your dad, but money for me for whatever I want to do in the future. So I have a very vivid memory of that.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't have those examples. I think that everyone around me that were the closest to me were just trying to get through. They probably things were a little stressful, so it wasn't an atmosphere of let's use this as a teaching moment. It was just, let me get these bills paid and barely getting by kind of situation. So I feel like when you're in that stage, most likely you're not going to then have the presence of mind and feel like this is a good time to bring on some teachable moments. But um,
But I would say for me, I think the reason why my parents were that way is because they were immigrants and
mhm.
they came from having nothing. So my parents, well, they didn't have much, but they wanted me to have better than they had.
Yes, definitely. And we come from the same backgrounds as far as that. I'm the first generation born in the US. And when my parents and when my grandparents came here, it seemed like they just kind of they prioritized Catholic school or private school, and I don't know how it was. Someone told me that they come to America, they probably got the phone book and they found whatever type of church they wanted, and they found the different things, and they just went and tried to find people to connect with and start to build from there. But yeah,
Same.
it's extra hard. But you had a bit of a different experience. I tell you, my grandmother came to my grandmother on my mom's side, she came to the U.S. ahead of my grandfather, and my grandfather passed away, never made it over here. So she
Mm.
wound up being a single mom in the U.S. with my mom and her little brother. My grandmother had one older son, but he was much older, about nearly 20 years age difference. So he was out on his own. But yes, so primarily I grew up being raised in a household with my mother and my grandmother, paying the bills and providing all of the necessities for me, or for the three of us. It was just kind of always the three of us. Uh, so yes, what's and this I used the word myth when I was thinking of this question, but well, let me just throw it out to you the way I wrote it. What's a money myth that you've outgrown? Or what is a money myth that or obstacle that you think people have nowadays? Because things have changed, like with online banks that give us the higher rates and things like that. What are some things that you might have not have been comfortable with at first, but you are now, or something that you think the masses around us might still be struggling with?
Well, I came from the background that women are, to be home. I came from a very, what do you call it? That sort of family that, the men make the money, the women stay home and you take care of children, kind of like the traditional,
Traditional
yeah,
housewife.
traditional
Um,
household.
mhm.
And for me, getting education, I knew that was something that was not for me because I was not going to sit down and wait for somebody to bring me in money. I was like, I want my own money. So that was already a thing that I never told my family because they're still very traditional. But I already knew that what I wanted to do. So I say that to women as well, to make sure that you're very informed when it comes to bills, because even if you do have a husband or whoever providing and bringing money into the home, you still need to know what are the bills. How much are we making? How much do we have in our portfolio? We need to be more informed instead of just saying like, "Oh, they have it." And that's what I used to see growing up with my mother, just saying, "Oh, my dad has it," but do they really? How do you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I wanted to do something different and make sure I was keeping myself well informed and handling my own business on my own.
I agree with you on that. Let's take before I talk a little bit about what I think some obstacles are. Let's take a station break. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'm Lisa J. Stocks here today with Marlene Motivates, and her channel is tagged in the description. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're not already, subscribe to both of our channels. Give this live a thumbs up, and be on the lookout for part 2 of this discussion, which will be on Marlene's channel. And Boss Life is saying exactly what you were saying, that she wanted to have her own money, but she added some extras here, and she wasn't having 8 kids. Do you come from a big family?
Yes, I do. I'm the
Yeah.
last of 10, Lisa.
Okay. Uh, I grew up by myself. I have 2 half sisters, but they are significantly younger than me. My sister from my mom, we're 19 years apart. So
Wow.
I essentially was an only child. And I agree with what you were saying about having an understanding of what's going on with the finances. But to take it even further, I believe that as far as, having access to retirement accounts and things like that, it's only the federal government and a spouse that could potentially, sue or get some of the a portion of that. But just to make things easier, even if you are, you work part time, or you are more of a stay at home uh, wife provider in that role, have your own Roth IRA, have some money set aside for yourself. because things happen. And I was in a financial group, I've mentioned this before, and I hate how many times I read comments of someone 30, 40 years old that's been home and never worked the amount of their spouse and built up that 401k and don't have that nest egg for themselves, and now they're getting started late in life and don't know how to invest, don't know how to do anything, and now not having a companion to even have those conversations with potentially. So
Mhm.
yeah, we have to be
That
on track to protect ourselves. And I don't mean to talk negative about marriage or anything like that, but you should have knowledge on where things are, what the potential, what is being built, because you can't just take on that role of assuming that it's going to be for us, and you might be in a fight for some of the things if he is the breadwinner in the situation. So I think that's kind of the sentiment that you were giving about having knowledge, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. So that's one of the reasons why I say, Lisa, is that, to be informed about what's going on, because like you said, just in case, maybe the relationship doesn't pan out, and now you have to be starting over later in life with nothing, because there was no sort of agreement, and you really didn't know that he was really saving for himself and not saving for the both of you. So it's just something to think about on both sides.
So there's a few questions out there about a good financial question to ask on a date. Boss Life is saying, uh, talk about finances before you marry. Do you have any insights on that? Have you given anyone around you any guidance on how to navigate that?
Yes, I always say that, it's staggering the numbers, the percentages of people who are divorcing, because people just feel like if we get along, whatever you get along romantically does not mean you're going to get along financially. You need to have the money conversations. When it comes to money, are we going to have separate accounts? Are we going to have joint accounts? Who is responsible for what? So when the relationship progresses and you get to the point of marriage, there's no surprises, because that brings a lot of pain and anger, because you'll go in having these assumptions that, oh, he's going to cover it, or everything's going to, oh, you don't expect me to do it. And I think that that's a problem when it comes to dating and marriage. People have their assumptions in their head, but they never have those conversations about what they want, what they expect, and how are things going to progress. What are your goals financially, and how are you
Mhm.
working towards it?
So how do you I don't have much experience in this department. So how do you imagine you go about this? Say you're getting far into a relationship, it's getting serious. Do you sit down and like disclose your debt and give the details? I have this much student loan, I have this much credit card debt. Is that like the level of detail that you would want to make sure that someone had gotten to before they're in a marriage?
I think, for me, Lisa, and I can't speak for everybody, but I think when you really start having feelings for somebody, that is the time where it's the time to disclose. What's your credit score? My
Hmm.
credit score is this. This is how much debt I have. This is how much loans I have. I have this meant this much debt from schooling. Those are the conversations that you need to have, because moving forward, once you sign on that dotted line and you become married to somebody, if they default on a bill, that becomes your bill.
Okay.
So it's a, it may seem like, oh, people, they're in my business, but if we're going to be together, if you haven't made the best financial decisions, that's going to come back on me. And I want to make sure that I've done my homework so I don't get in over my head.
Agreed. Agreed. So let's take a look at the chat and see if there's anything else. Oh, now they're talking about prenuptial agreements, and oh my goodness. Y'all want to go there?
Yeah.
Do you believe in paying bills? is the question I asked, do you plan on keeping your job and do you get along with people at your job? Boss life is like making sure that they're not trying to come live off of her.
Exactly.
Let's see. So Anthony asks, what is a good first question to ask on a date? Would you even a good first question to ask? What I don't know what date this is. It's not the first date, is it? That he's referring to. I'm not sure. Do you think how far into the dating stage do you think these questions should be even coming up? Early
Well,
on, just to get it,
I
just to
I
taste
think
it.
after a little while, you've been on a few dates. I would say at least about by the seventh date. You've been talking to each other for just a little bit, just seeing how it goes, like seeing how they deal with money. Or is this a 50-50? So for me, everything is kind of a showcase of what's ahead. If you're just dating somebody and they're expecting for the date to be 50-50, you kind of know that moving forward it's going to be the same
Mhm.
when it comes to finances. But if you have somebody and they're willing to, foot all the bills, then you would have conversations about, how can I, do something, when it comes to the money part, because we don't want to be moochers off of somebody when you're getting to know them. Yeah, you're paying for the date, but what can I do? Can I leave the tip? Can I do this? Can I do that? And seeing how they react to things. It really does show what type of person they are and if that's something that you want moving forward. Because I have found for myself, Lisa,
Mhm.
that when you are dating somebody, and I can tell very quickly a person's how they are doing financially. Like, are they paying with a credit card? Are they paying cash? Or, how are they usually paying for the dates? You can find out how what a person's situation is really quickly.
Well, that wouldn't show me anything because I never have cash. I never have cash. I don't use a debit card. I always use a credit card. But, the story is behind how quickly that card is paid off. Is that card always down to zero or are they carrying a balance? Because that wouldn't show. So do you use a debit card or actually have cash or do that yourself?
Yes,
You
I
do?
definitely I am. I don't know, Lisa. I'm kind of strange when it comes to going places. I do not like to give my personal information because of how there so much things goes online. So I usually just like to go with cash.
Okay, okay. I am a credit card person. I try to use my credit card as much as possible. If I have to write a check or use a debit card or something like that, I'm annoyed because I feel like I need my points. I need my rewards. I need my cash back. Like so I am definitely a credit card person, but I'm not carrying any credit card debt. I use my cards for everything, to pay the subscriptions, utility bills that I can, even my car insurance. I do that all month long. I pay it in full, and most of the time, especially unless I have one of those larger. I just had an over $500 car repair. So, but even that, I'm going to take money out of savings, get it cleared up as quickly as possible. I actually have a special going on right now on my Citibank card. They're giving me a year of interest free
Oh wow.
on purchases, so I'm good. But at the same time, I don't want that to get to my head, and I get a little too slow with paying my expenses. Like I said, I don't want that $500 car repair to linger. I'm still trying to stay on top of it. But yeah, I am a credit card person. I didn't know that about you, Marlene.
No, I
I
think
could've-
it's because of my upbringing and having immigrant parents. My mom was always taught me that, like, no matter what, even if it's just $20 or $50, you should always carry cash, because what if the card machine is down?
Mhm.
Or and you get into an emergency. My mom always said carry a 20 with you. You know, keep it in your phone, like little slot that
Yeah,
just in case,
just in case.
just in
Yes.
case if you maybe your car breaks down, you need to
Mhm.
take a taxi. I know that sounds kind of strange because with Uber and Lyft now, but you know, just in case if you need to an emergency, something comes up and you need to get out really quickly, and what if the card machine is down?
Mhm.
You still need to pay, and you have no other options. Like, what are
Yeah.
you gonna do?
I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of cash. And I will admit to you, there have been probably long stretches of time when I didn't even have a dollar because I just hadn't gotten cash in a while and hadn't broken, any money. But
Yeah.
right now, talking about the potential of someone stealing your information and stuff. The young lady that braids my hair has been making me pay cash for a couple of months now because she had some issue with her Cash App account, and she just
Mhm.
hasn't set up something new for us to pay Venmo or some, and I'm annoyed with her.
Yeah, it's like, come on, Apple Pay
It's
something.
like I'm ready for my hair appointment or like my daughter's friends. It's like, oh, they have a hair appointment. Oh, we gotta go sit in the line, go to the drive-through, get out the car, go to the ATM. It's just like a shock to my system to have to get
Yeah.
cash. But so guys, are you enjoying this conversation? We've thrown some different topics in there. Thank you for the chat for bringing a little bit of different things to the conversation. I was gonna mention because they were talking about this, prenuptial agreements and things like that. Maybe I'll send it to you for part two. It's something that we can discuss and react
Okay.
to.
Sounds
It's
good.
around famous people. I was looking at John Cena. I'm not sure what is he what famous people when they're in a relationship and they try to set up like a cohabitation agreement 25-page thing so that the girlfriend can't try to say they live there, try to fight them for anything. But it's also coming into place in discussions that I've been seeing related to, like, if you have an Airbnb, you have to make things clear that they are a guest. Like at a hotel, they are a guest, they are not a tenant, and you have to make sure that there's clear lines because we don't want anyone coming in and squatting and
Yes.
taking on rights and trying to
Trying to
get over on us.
their mail to go there, because if somebody gets their mail going to your home, they can say that that's their home. So you have to be careful.
Okay. Thank you guys for chatting. So let me throw out another question. Do you have something on your mind for another
Okay,
question?
let's
Let's
see.
see.
Okay, this is uh, it's kind of, but I'll say, what advice would you give those who lack motivation to start on their wealth journey? Like, they want, but they have no motivation. What kind of encouragement could you give to them to start?
No, I always say, like, look around you and see who is living the way that you want that you want your life to be, and don't and get an understanding. Like one of my YouTubers and people that I look up to, Chris Sane. Almost every video he says, everyone sees the results. Few consider the journey. He says that all the time. And that's what I would say. Look to someone that, has the house, the car, the life. And if you have an understanding of how they achieve that, but some people, it's kind of hard for me to put into words what I'm trying to explain because just because they have that, they might, I don't want the value of what's sitting in my driveway. I don't want the car value to be more than my investment account. If there's someone around you that you really think is living the way that you want, that has the investments, has a reasonable car, home, don't just think that it just fell into their lap, don't just think that they inherited it. Most of us don't inherit these things. We have to work hard for them. So if that's what you want, realize what you have to do. use them as an inspiration to as a, a source to say, hey, this is what I have to do to achieve this, and that's pretty much all I can do. I have a teenage daughter, and I hope that she's looking to family members that are on track, and really, I'm glad that she has so many people around her that could give her that type of guidance on what she needs to do in order to potentially have the life that I hope that, I want for her. So, but it's all a matter of the willingness of the person to accept what you have to do. And what would you say are things that you can do to motivate people to get started and not be intimidated and realize it takes work?
Yeah. Well, first, my thing is that if you aren't motivated and inspired about your life, who is going to motivate you? You have to get yourself on track. I always tell people, wake up. Wake up. This is your life, and just because you may be okay now, it does not mean that you're going to be okay forever. Anybody can get sick, go through some situations, and maybe you have somebody that you're sharing the expenses with, but what if that changes? What will I do in that situation? Will I be okay? Will I be able to cover a mortgage and my bills without their income? Those are the sort of things that we need to be thinking about. And what about as we age? At a certain point, we're going to want to come back. You're not going to want to be working full time until your time of retirement. I think just about everybody around about the age of 55, you kind of want to be settling into a part time job. That's where I'm on track for that.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But at the same time, I was just watching something, and the couple, they were about early 60s, and they were kind of in a stage where they said they're kind of forced into forced retirement because they just gotten laid off so many times, and they felt like there is a stigma against them at their age trying to find a job, and they were at that highest earning stage of life. So yeah, it's hard. It is hard. But let me see. You have to work for what you want. You haven't wanted to have your dreams. No one, if none of this will. Can you read Boss Life's comment? I feel like I'm twisting it
Let me
up.
see. Let me see if I can. Okay. You have to work for what you want. You have to want it, and you have to have dreams. If none of this, you will never get what you want. It takes action. Yeah, and it does. It
Mhm.
takes action. If you don't know what you want, that's something that my dad used to always put in my head from a little girl. He used to always ask me, "What do you want?" Because if you don't know what you want, somebody is going to sway you or deter you. So he always told me to have your head on straight. Don't put your head on a swivel. Don't let your be deterred, and be discouraged by situations in your life. Get yourself back on track, get refocused, and know what you want, and go towards your goals. And it's okay to have mistakes. It's okay to not be doing something, but kind of, if you see that you're not doing what you need to for your financial goals, you can always play catch up. It's never too late.
But the earlier you start, the better. But
Yes.
yes, never too late. Don't think that I don't even need to try. Something is better than nothing. So even if you're off to a late start, just keep going. I don't know what we were saying at this particular time, but Anthony was saying that that's that's one reason why I feel like it's best to have accounts separate. I think for simplicity, maybe you have a separate account and a joint account so that some of the larger bills, can be more easily paid because, trying to split everything or trying to find a combination of mortgage, gas, car insurance, that you pay these and I pay these and they're equal, or I don't know how that works with because most likely I'm assuming each person makes a different amount of money. So how are you going to delegate that out? Uh, but let me see. So what's a money habit that helps you to keep your finances on track? Is there anything that you just is your go-to thing that you always do, budgeting or making sure you cut back on a certain thing that you can make sure that you can packing your lunch, mowing the lawn yourself? What things making sure that you're keeping on top of the rates when it comes to your credit cards or different accounts that you might have?
Mhm. I would say always making sure that I have money going out into different accounts. For me, when I started that, it was a game changer for me. I'm the sort of person that when I see money in my account, I'm like, oh yay, let's play. So if the money is already gone and is going into different accounts like a brokerage account, it's going into all of these different accounts. I don't miss it.
Mhm.
But for me to, when I get paid, for me to then go and say, oh, I'm going to give this much into my account, I won't do that. I feel like it's too much to
Automation.
separate yourself from the money. But if the money is already coming out and you've already had a certain amount that you're putting into it, I feel like I just do so much better that way, like out of sight, out of mind. You can't miss what you don't see. So that really has been something that has helped me. I think I started this right before the C19. So about 2019 is when I started making sure the money comes out off the top. And then another habit is that I make sure that I start paying myself first. Um, that's a habit that my mom and my dad used to always say. It never made sense to me, but they always say that you got to have a number, that whatever it is, if you're going to 20, 50, 75, 100, 200, whatever your amount is, but you got to have something that you give to yourself every time you get paid to do whatever it is you want to do. Like I sprinkle my money all over the place. So say for instance, my number was $50. I'll put $10 in here for my stocks. I'll put 15 over here, 10 over there, 5 here for something else. In that way, it's my way of doing something good for myself that I normally would say I don't have the money to do.
That is a good one, and I think that could help so many people. Take it out of your hands and just automate your investing, your savings. Yes, that way you can't slack off. It's done for you. So that's a really good one that I definitely incorporate. But um, I have been able to keep up with daily investing, some that I do actually manually. But it's just such a habit. I've been doing it for so many years now. It, it's very rare that I miss a day and have to make up for it because it's just a part of my day. So what you said, I hope. Well, let me see. I don't know how to put this question. What you were saying about your comfort level with having money and not too much credit cards and stuff. What is how do you navigate that with like a high yield savings account? Was that an obstacle for you having like an online account? Is it like a hassle for you to make transfers and things like that, or is that not something that you really?
It's not, it wasn't a problem for me. I think because from such a young age, I've always been taught to be very responsible when it came to my money, that I've been in this habit for almost all of my life, that I don't really have a problem with wasting money or, not being responsible. My thing is that I had to learn that while you're responsible, you also, when you work hard, you deserve to have some fun. So my thing is also putting in there some some funds for vacation and trips and some other things that I want to do for myself. It shouldn't just be all work and being responsible. You also deserve to have some fun in that as well.
Definitely, definitely. All work and no play. Work hard, play hard, as they say. So it sounds like you've already kind of answered this question, that your parents and their influence and what you saw from them gave you kind of gave you a blueprint on your financial journey, on how you were going to go with things. I think I just had to build my own over time, because I don't think I had much to the people that around me that were knowledgeable weren't sharing the knowledge. It just wasn't something that's talked about. So since you've been on YouTube, do you has like does that open up a lot more conversations with your friends now that they've seen you over the last few years having these channels and having these discussions? Do people come to you with different things that they never did before?
Yes. But it's usually the funny part is people will say, "Oh, I watch your videos, but I never comment." I don't know what that is about, but I don't know. But they'll say, "Oh, I watched your videos." Like, why didn't you comment? Why don't you say anything? Or I come to your lives, but I never say anything. So that's why the reason why I like to encourage people, please leave a comment. I love to hear your comments. I love to see what you guys are saying when I'm live, because some people are kind of a little bit skittish in sharing. But yes, people have asked me questions via my videos and my live streams.
Have you ever had someone text you or ask you a question, and you had that response of, why didn't you ask in the comment? Yes, I've had that too. I guess they don't understand content creators and
No, they don't.
how to make us feel good.
I was like, leave comments, leave comments.
I have refused to reply to text messages, because the text message is not the place. I need you to comment, and I need the interaction on the video. Go and write it over there, and I'll answer your question.
Yeah. But
But
but I but I what I think it is, Lisa, I think some people feel like they don't want to seem like they're asking a stupid question.
mhm,
And my dad always used to tell me from I was a little girl, the only stupid questions are the ones that you don't ask. So
mhm.
you have to empower yourself and be strong enough within yourself. If I don't know something and I know that Lisa knows, I'm definitely going to come over and ask Lisa.
But yeah, I know what you're saying, that it's easier just to ask me in private than to ask me in public. Yes, I get that a lot. But and I also have been running into that. Even I went for, I guess, a late lunch the other day with a friend, two friends, and the conversation turned to finance, and it's because of
Okay.
my channel. Because we were never, years ago, we weren't having brunch, and there was no financial discussions coming up. We were just eating and drinking. But because they see the conversations and the things that I'm accomplishing, and what I share sometimes with my portfolio, it brings people around me having different discussions with me. But it's been a nice chat. I want to just make sure, if anybody has any questions for this episode or the next episode, drop them in the chat so that we can make sure to come back to that. But some people don't know what to say or how to share what they are feeling, so they say nothing. I don't, yeah, I don't know. I guess because I am a content creator, even before I was a content creator, I think I had enough knowledge to know, if potentially you share, you chat. I don't know. I don't know. But that's another topic, not finance related. Uh, so let me see. Any other questions or things that you had in mind, or any teasers for what we're going to discuss in part two?
Well, I feel like, we've kind of talked about a medley of many different things, but I think on the next one part two, we should go into how we can make ourselves in better financial situations. How do you make it happen? We talk about it, but how do you put it into action? Not just saying it, you know. How can you make your life financially set? How can you make yourself wealthy? I think that's
Mhm.
a very important conversation.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yes, we definitely can dig into that. And uh, I think one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is not taking a good look at their 401k or 403b or whatever they're doing through their employer. I was talking to someone recently and they asked for my help. They were willing to share. So I asked them, what are they invested into in a particular account? I don't know. What is the current performance? What is the performance of that account? What is your standard that what is it that what is the standard performance that you want to achieve? And what is your current performance on the account? Didn't know.
Oh, wow.
And I think when it comes to those retirement accounts, that we take on this mindset of that they know what they're doing. It comes out of my check and they're doing the best for me and they know how to do that and I don't have to worry about that portion of the money. But any other amount of money that you earn and that belongs to you, you probably have a better answer than that for me. Then I'm not sure. I need to look. I don't know. Is there any what investment choice were you defaulted into this target date fund or whatever you're in? Is there Are there other options that you could change it to? I don't know. I don't know. Have you ever encountered this, or do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yes, because I have to tell you, Lisa, that a lot of times well, I can't say a lot of times, I'm just speaking for myself, that a lot of times that we don't know the answer, like what you were talking about a little bit earlier. People don't know how to navigate and do things, but then they don't ask the questions and then they suffer. And there's a lot of consequences when you could probably be growing in your stocks and your bonds, your portfolios, your dividends, and all of those things if you had just asked questions. But just not asking questions is not a good enough response. We need to
Mhm,
do better than that. We need to do better because we're adults, and we're not just adults, or adults that are aging every single day. So we have to make better choices.
mhm. And for this person to not have the answers when they had asked for a meeting to talk with me and and these were things that they didn't have the presence of mind to prepare and have the answers to prior to
Mhm.
meeting with me. So
Wow.
I guess they didn't think the questions were even coming. So, but
I,
yeah, I think that a lot of money is lost in poor performing investment choices when it comes to our retirement accounts. And I wish I didn't have to pay Social Security. I wish I could just invest that myself. I'm sure I could do so much better.
yes.
But let me see. All right, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Again, I am Lisa J. Stocks. This is Marlene from Marlene Motivates. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Her channel information is in my description. And if you haven't already, make sure to give this live stream a thumbs up. And we will be coming to you later on this month with another edition of maybe, I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure. Are we going to keep it on the weekends?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Okay. With
Great.
another edition of our weekend financial fitness conversation. So, any closing words for us, Marlene?
Yeah, I just want to encourage everybody that whatever your situation is right now, financially, whether you're in a great position or in a not so good position, to do something about it. You know, as Lisa said, you got to get in the driver's seat of your life. And if there's something that you don't like, something that you don't know, ask the questions, do the things necessary, because it's going to affect you in the long run. We have to be mature women and mature men and not just say, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's not a good enough response for us over here.
Yes, definitely ask those questions. Call up the brokerage. They're in my experience, most of my experience has been with Fidelity, and they have great customer service. They will help you, they will guide you, and at no extra charge or anything like that. It's just a matter of taking the time, preparing yourself on what your questions are, and really push them to get the answers. I know I had an account over at Empowerment, and they weren't giving me the answers that I wanted. They weren't getting me into they had no fund that was a fit for my needs, and so I had to move on to Fidelity and make sure that my money is working for me to the maximum, because I want my money just to be over there making more money all by itself. There's only so much work I can do in order to build up these accounts and build wealth. Listen, so that's it for today. I We will be back soon. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. Good night. Good night, Marlene.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everybody.